All right, so welcome to the Palm Beach North podcast, brought to you by the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. My name is Noel Martinez, and we are so delighted to have State Representative John Snyder with us here today. John is all about serving his community, right? He, from fighting for better healthcare and justice to championing for clean water, John has absolutely been making waves in the political scene, but there's so much more to John than that. John is a savvy entrepreneur, is the CEO and founder of a company called Employment Simplified, and that's a company that streamlines staffing and payroll services. He's such an interesting guy, really great dude. So I'm really excited to have him. John, welcome to the show.
Man, thanks, Noel. Great to be with you, brother, and I appreciate the way too kind introduction.
So let's start with Employment Simplified. Tell us about that company. What is the company's mission?
Yeah, so really our mission is to provide simplified employment solutions through our superior work ethic and industry experience. Started in 2015. Myself and two partners, one from a finance degree, another one large organization, and I was a staffing and payroll guy, and really started around the coffee table as an idea and saw this potential to say, hey, we can step out, hang our own shingle, and now 8 years later, we've been blessed to see some wonderful growth and learn more every day on how to better serve our clients.
So what makes you different than because there are a lot of staffing and payroll companies out there. What makes you different than them?
Yeah, I think part of the understanding that the staffing business is a people business first and foremost. And I think it's very easy, especially in the corporate world, you can be so data driven, so metrics driven, KPIs and the numbers. That's really how we differentiate ourselves. Is we believe we have two clients, those that we serve, our customers that need people or need help with benefits or payroll. Then it's also the employee, whether it's that person who's looking for their next dream job, a career advancement, or just that next opportunity. Serving those people with integrity and just with that people first mentality, that's what gives us that ESI edge.
Is there ESI, are there specific industries that you work with?
So there's kind of three primary verticals on the recruiting side that we focus on. We do a lot of work in the education space. We know the teacher shortage is something we're seeing nationwide, and we do support that effort across the country. We do some healthcare work, but in the kind of the staffing and payroll world, a lot of our business is local, and really pretty much any industry that we can come alongside or company that we can come alongside and serve, happy to do that and present really a turnkey solution that covers everything from onboarding to recruitment, all the way through benefits administration, 401k, and payroll.
So what are the biggest, challenges that your industry is facing?
Well, I think it's a blessing and a curse right now. We have some pretty record low unemployment, not just nationally, but especially here in Florida. We're leading the nation. Folks are wanting to come here. And so I think finding good people, especially in skilled workforce, is something that is a challenge really for everyone. It's actually one of the things we're looking at in Tallahassee is workforce development. How do we continue to make sure that our trade schools, our vocational schools, and really that stigma around, hey, saying maybe the 4-year traditional college pathway isn't for me. Let's get these kids into a certification. And so really, I think everyone feels the labor shortage, which coincidentally, on the business side, happens to be good for us because that's when folks need that specific help to find good people.
So let's talk a little bit about you. So you live in Stewart. You were you weren't born down there, but you're raising a family up there in Stewart. Tell us a little bit about your personal life and what it's like at home for John Snyder.
Yeah. So Noel, actually, not to correct you on the spot, but I was born and raised in Martin County.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Sorry. My bad.
Local to South Florida, and pretty much been here all my life except for my time in college and in the Marine Corps. I was stationed out in San Diego, so fortunately I've always been close to the beach.
San Diego's gorgeous, man. That must have been nice.
Yeah, maybe we can we'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now at home, that's really what drives me. The business, that's important because that's how I feed my family and hopefully be a good provider for my kids. But my wife, she really is the rock and definitely the CEO of the Snyder household. She lets me do the politics thing. But we're a wonderful team. We're actually celebrating tomorrow. It's our 15-year anniversary. So I love you, Brittany. Hopefully,
great job, man. That's great.
Watch this. I remembered.
It's not coming out for 3 weeks, so
that's right. Okay, perfect. So we're looking forward to celebrating that. And we've got 2 daughters. Our Marine Corps baby, Elizabeth, who's 12, started 7th grade this year, diehard Swiftie. And then our politics baby, baby Reagan, she's turning 3 at the end of September. And truth be told, she really is the one who runs the house.
Oh, I bet. So Brittany, how did you meet Brittany?
Man, so that's kind of a funny story. Really, the quick of it is, she's a South Florida girl too. We went to a very small Christian school up in Hope Sound. That's where I went to high school. And partway through that, she left. Her stepdad was a regional manager for Home Depot, got transferred up in Pensacola. And honestly, Noel, kind of just forgot about her. She was a couple years
I thought you were going to tell
younger
me you were
than
crushed.
me.
I thought you were going to tell me you were so
I didn't
hurt,
even
you
know.
missed her.
I didn't know she was even gone. And she knows that. Fast forward 4 years later, I'm stationed in Pensacola at a school in the Marine Corps. And I'm wearing my camis, and on every base, there's kind of a retail store where you buy, you get everything from a TV to your deodorant to cigarettes. So I'm in line checking out, and this beautiful cashier who I had purposefully gotten in line to try and talk to looks at me and she goes, "Snyder." It's like, I recognize that name. Are you from Hope Sound, Florida? And I'm in Pensacola, totally think I'm in my own world. And long story short, she's like, "Yeah, well, I think we went to high school together." Fast forward 6 months later, we were married and off to California we went and enjoyed that lifestyle for a couple years before Elizabeth came along.
Oh, man, that's awesome. So what were you like growing up? What were you like as a kid? Were you into sports? I mean, what were you like?
Well, my parents would tell you I was definitely an introvert. So
no way.
Yeah, man, I was a shy kid growing up, and my dad kind of tells the joke. He would force me out of my shell. So when we would go out to specifically Sonny's, and I remember this, the old Sonny's restaurants, you would go up and pay at the table on the table on the way out the door. So that was how my dad kind of got me out of my shell, was make me go pay and really kind of force me. Make eye contact, how to shake hands, and was pretty instrumental. But I was a pretty shy kid. Love sports, diehard Dolphins fan.
Yeah, baby.
Grew up playing Pop Warner football and that whole thing. So, especially for the Jupiter folks out there, the Palm City Dolphin, Jupiter Mustang rivalry was real back in the day. I hear it's still pretty strong.
I heard that the Jupiter Mustangs were pretty darn good, man.
They were, especially the Maroon team, man. They were no joke. No joke.
So your dad was a cop his whole life, right? I think I read somewhere he started out in North Miami, right? Long time ago.
Yeah, he was a Miami-Dade street cop down there for the 70s, really for about over 20 years. In 1992, transferred up here to Martin County.
And now he's a sheriff. So what's it like growing up? Your dad is the sheriff. Like, you're in high school and your buddies are all getting ready to go have a good time at a house party, and your dad's a sheriff. Like, did any sheriffs ever show up at the house and be like, "Johnny, what the heck are you doing here? Get out of here."
And, we're going to plead the fifth on that one. But I could tell you this, no, all joking aside, in high school, I was pretty straight edge. And I think it was probably by design. My parents sent me to a private school. So thankfully, got the Wild Oaks out in the Marine Corps days. But growing up behind really the dashboard of a police car, there were no morning commutes to school. On the way to school, you never know what would pop up on the radio. And I remember it was very impactful growing up, kind of that sense that, my dad was always on, there was always a radio, and really seeing that commitment to the community and that public service aspect up close and personal. Gave me a very deep appreciation just for our law enforcement, our first responders. And you realize, when so many of us are sitting around the Thanksgiving table, Christmas dinner, oftentimes, well, not often, all the time, there are others out there that are making that sacrifice to be away from their families. Saw that, but we always, knew growing up, it was like, hey, this is a family commitment. But it was neat to see that, up close and personal.
So I've heard you, the look in your eye when you talk about your own man, when you talk about your dad, right? Like, I know you really look up to him. And I've heard you say before, like, he is your hero. Why do you feel that way? What is it?
Well, again, I think just the life he's lived. And, I always tell people, I think especially in politics and in today's day and age, it's, we hear so often the people, the fall from grace or, oh, man, this kind of someone you look up to is like, oh, you don't want to see that guy when the cameras are off or when the light's off. And that's one of the things that I've tried to emulate from my dad is just kind of a steadiness. Even keel, can't really rock the guy. You don't know if he's kind of in Zen mode or ready to throw you over the hood of a car. He's got a great poker face. But growing up, I talked about playing Pop Warner football. So he was my coach in football. And so now kind of in this political, public service realm, somebody I look up to closely. And he always says, like, son, nobody's going to tell you like I tell you because I truly love you. So he's told me, he's the one who gave me the good pep talk. He said, all right, son, looking a little fluffy. You got to dial it back, get more into fighting weight. So he gives me the good, bad, and ugly and the unadulterated truth. And that's what I love.
So it seems like, you're a lot like your father in a lot of different ways, but how are you different than your dad? Because your dad, we mentioned earlier, was in the Florida House of Representatives in the same exact seat that you were in. So how are you guys different?
Well, I think, I've shared this with folks. My dad gets a lot of the attention, but my mom actually is a small business owner and really was a very savvy entrepreneur and a successful business owner. And so I think kind of one of the easiest ways of distinction is I kind of looked at my mom, and I've always said, my mom, I think I get a lot of that, the business entrepreneurial side of, I'm a business development guy at my heart. Sales is, that's really how I even got started in the industry. And so I think my dad has always been a very steady, the public servant, and he has his entire career has been, working in law enforcement. And so while I love that, and it's extremely important, I know for myself, I don't have what it takes to be a cop. I got that bug out in the Marine Corps. And so I think that's one of the areas, but I'll be honest, in pretty much every way else, I try and get as close to those footsteps to his as I possibly can.
So you, growing up in Stewart, right? You've been there your whole life. What are your favorite spots? Like, what do you do on weekends? Where do you go on a Friday, Saturday night when you're not in Tallahassee?
Yeah, well, one of the things about Stewart is we are pretty sleepy, but it's changing. I'll tell you, one of the things I love, we've got the Sailfish hitting bays, so it's kind of like Topgolf Light there at the Martin County Municipal Golf Course. That's always a good spot. My daughter loves bowling, actually both of them. So it's not uncommon to find us maybe out at the bowling alley, but more often than not, our ideal spot, probably find me in the backyard hanging out in the pool with the kiddos, because that's our kind of fun these days.
Yeah, I hear you. I love that. There's nothing better than that. I like, we're out in the public eye all the time, right? Yeah. We're always in front of people. So I think I'd love to just be at home with my green egg going, relaxing with the family, not have to talk to anybody outside the family. It's actually a really good feeling. So are there any traditions that, or rituals that you and your family hold really dear to your heart?
Yeah. Well, growing up in our family church and our faith has been, really a centerpiece of, not just what we do, but really who we are. And that's extremely important to us. I think Christmas is always one of those times, looking back as a kid, maybe we did it a little different. We were a Christmas Eve family, so we would do like the big Christmas Eve dinner. And we actually, and now I think maybe it was like just a good parenting tactic so they could sleep in the next morning. We would do our presents Christmas Eve night. And just I remember me and my brother and sister growing up, just, staying up into all hours of the morning at that first Game Boy I ever got. Man, how technology has changed. But growing up, that was a big one for us. For sure.
I remember getting a Game Boy. Those things were awesome. Those things were like the best.
Madden 95 and
they were like
Super
blocks.
Mario. Yes.
So brother and sister, we didn't talk about your brother and sister.
Yeah.
What do they do? Are they in politics too or no?
No, not directly, but
they're helping you out
in
a lot.
service. Yeah, for sure. My sister's a school teacher out in Texas. So I'm not going to get into how I feel about my brother-in-law taking her out to Tyler, but I do love Micah and my niece and nephew and one on the way. And then my brother, after he also served in the Marine Corps, then spent 14 years in law enforcement and ultimately picked up the mantle and is running the family business, doing private home health care up in Martin County and in the Palm Beaches.
Marine Corps. Let's talk about the Marine Corps. I don't know how we haven't talked about that. So tell me about that. What was that experience like? So you're right out of high school. You went in?
No. I went to college for a year and a half. And after about my third switch of my major, my dad, I remember the conversations, said, son, I really want you to figure out what you want to be when you grow up.
I'm surprised you didn't want to be a cop.
It's not going to be on my dime.
How did you not end up becoming a cop?
Man, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things probably as a kid, you always like, getting away from the shadow maybe, or just, and again, my mom and just seeing the business side, that always was a draw to me. I worked in the business in high school, doing scheduling of private duty cases. So anyway, kind of really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. Honestly. And that's why I think the whole workforce development conversation is so important, because there is such a push to, it's just kind of who we are as a culture. Once you're a junior in high school, everybody wants to know, where are you going to college? What are you going to do? What are you going to study? What do you want with your major? And so I think that's important. 4-year colleges are extremely important. We've got one of the best public education systems in the state for higher ed. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I found myself in Martin County doing some community college, working at a gym, working at a golf course. And it was my brother who, I again, remember this night, kind of had that come to Jesus moment. He said, bro, you're either going to find yourself sitting here doing this same exact thing in 20 years, or you got to get out of town and do something with your life. And the Marine Corps, so I was 19 at the time, filled that void in a tremendous way. It was thankfully we were in surge mode under, at the time, President Bush. And so there was a concentrated effort to get the Marine Corps from 170,000 to 220,000, because at the time, Iraq was going off, Afghanistan was going off. And so, kind of realized, hey, there was an opportunity to serve. I was in high school when 9/11 happened, and it really, for that first time, felt that purpose and that desire. I said, okay, this is something I want to do, and change my life. And aside from meeting my wife, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Well, thank you so much for your service. And let's talk about service. Let's talk about politics a little bit. So, how do you get into politics? I mean, obviously, your dad was in politics, and he's still an elected official. What made you run for office? Like, why did you do it?
So it's one of those things, running a small business and having at the time, again, a young daughter. I was just really understanding the importance and really the role that government plays in our education system. Kind of rewind back to 2019, the blue-green algae outbreaks were that was in the news, and term limits, quite honestly, play a big part in the political landscape at the state and local level. We have term limits. I think they work. And so kind of this confluence of things were happening. I'm realizing the heavy hand of government, education, the important role of saying, hey, I'm either going to sit on the sidelines or let's get in and actually make our voice heard. Marilyn Magar, who served this community with true distinction. And you talk about a leader and someone who really brought home some tremendous money and very effective policy to this area, term limiting out, said, hey, why don't I throw my hat in the ring? Here's what I'm passionate about. Saw an opportunity to continue to serve, and it was quite the whirlwind experience, going through an election and actually really trying to hammer out, what do I believe and how do I articulate that and really make a difference in all of these different areas, which we could kind of get into more. But long story short, the voters gave me that humbling nod to be their voice, and I've been loving every second of it.
How do you do that and run an office? Like, how do you run a campaign? How do you spend as much time as you do in Tallahassee? How do you do that and still run your business? Honestly, and how are you still a father and a husband? Like, that's got to be so hard.
Man. Well, look, it's a balance. One of the things about being a state rep is technically it is considered a part-time job. So if you look deep down in the fine print, you will see that somewhere. But the truth be told, when we go to Tallahassee, it's usually for a quick, concentrated period of time. And then when you're back home, really everything else is constituent services. We're not up there a lot. So it's a citizen legislature by design, because, who better to try and make the decisions that affect our business owners, our families, our parents, all the things that make a society what they are than the people who are living in it. That's kind of that answer. The real answer, Noel, is I've got some incredibly strong women in my life that keep me on track. My wife, who, again, anchors the home front.
I got to meet Brittany. She sounds awesome.
Oh, man. She is for sure my much better half. We're heading up to the debate. I know this is going to be on tape delay, but we're going up to Milwaukee tonight. We're flying out. So we're going up for a couple of days to go do anniversary.
Want me to carry your bags for you?
I don't know. I'm sorry, honey. We'll do a more romantic anniversary than just the presidential debate, but we're going to Wisconsin. So Brittany runs the House. Sarah Craven, who runs our legislative
She's awesome.
efforts and keeps me in line, makes sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. And my business partner, Talina Addison from the Addison Drywall family, helped me start the business, is my COO. And so when I'm up in Tallahassee, she keeps the trains running on track, and they let me show up every once in a while and act like I'm doing something.
So you've really moved up the ranks really fast. Like in your sophomore year, you became deputy majority leader. A lot of people don't know what that means. So can you talk? What does that mean? What do they do? What does a deputy majority leader do?
It's one of those things. There's not a defined job description like we would find, in the typical business world. But at the end of the day, the legislature, we have 120 members, and right now we have 83 Republicans. At the top of that, and it's kind of like a military org chart, is our Speaker of the House, who really sets the agenda and really drives what's happening in the House of Representatives. In order to effectively carry out his agenda, the majority office really works with members to gauge where they are at on certain things and ultimately find out, do we have the votes to ultimately get this legislation effectively across the finish line. And so that's really my role, is supporting the majority leader, but ultimately working with the Speaker of the House to make sure we're doing everything we can to address the needs of 22.5 million Floridians.
So that people don't know, how do you get selected? Who selects you to be the deputy majority leader?
So that was an appointment by the Speaker of the House.
Okay. All right. Just in case people don't know. Talk to me a little bit about the complexities of politics, right? And how do you effectively represent your constituents at the same time, navigating through those complexities? Like, that's got to be difficult as well.
Yeah. So, one of the easiest ways for me to kind of break it down is, in the Marine Corps, I worked in aviation. I was a hydraulics and sheet metal mechanic. And one of the things we rely on to keep the hydraulic systems clean is heavy use of filters. And so in anything, when we're looking at legislation, there's kind of a 3-step filtration process on how we get to a decision, at least for me. This is the way I do it. Starting first and foremost, does this pass my core values, my principles, who I am as a man, as a person, and as a Christian? The next, yes, we move to the next step. If no, it's a non-starter. The next one, okay, how does this impact my constituents, the people that sent me here, the 180,000, whether they voted for me or not? It's my obligation to be the best voice that I can for them. If it's a yes, then we can get to the next step. If it's a no, it's a non-starter no matter what. Then at that final step, that's where the politics of the process come into play. Where is quote unquote leadership at on this issue? But at the end of the day, none of that matters unless it checks out on my core values, what's best for my constituents. Then everything else from that, really, it's not that complicated. It's you let your yes be yes and your no be no. You just stay honest. And that's how people really get caught up into politics is, you told this person yes, no, this person no, and you're trying to play this game. It's like, no games, just shoot straight. And at the end of the day, even if somebody wants you to be a yes or a no, as long as you tell them, hey, it's no, here's why, but I want you to know that, that's all you can ask for in the legislative process.
So you're a business guy. Talk to me a little bit about any specific initiatives or policies that you're championing to support small businesses in Florida.
Yeah, well, I think, kind of briefly looking in the rearview mirror, affordable housing, workforce housing has been something I know Palm Beach has been a county leader on in a big way and is stepping up in additional ways. But I think there's still going to be more work to be done. So again, knowing it as a small business owner, if I can't recruit and retain top talent, that it's going to be awfully hard to move on beyond that. Property insurance. We know that goes right into
I'm writing that down right now.
Affordability conversation. This is where, again, to the chamber crowd, I cannot stress highly enough, insurance agents. I know that they play a critical role in the community. I was actually talking to a family member today, and it is such a complicated process, but I think the average consumer and homeowner doesn't understand the important role that community insurance agent plays in truly shopping the market and getting the best possible deal, because we have taken some very significant steps, sweeping tort reform, major property insurance overhauls, but we know this is a market-driven issue. It will take time, but working with your local insurance agents to, again, shop the right deal, speak with them before you file a claim or potentially get yourself in litigation. They are a critical partner in the property insurance conversation. And I'm sure here at the chamber, you've got some fantastic ones.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, like we talked about this before, that we poll and survey our members all day. 3-4 times a year. And the 3 biggest issues that our local businesses are having is housing that's affordable, right? Their staff, their team can't afford to live there. Insurance, which we talked about, and workforce and talent development.
That's it.
So you hit all 3 nails on the head, and that's perfect. So education is crucial. You talked a little bit about it, right? Education in society. I think we've learned a little bit about why it's so important to you. What initiatives or policies do you support to enhance educational opportunities for our kids here in Florida?
Yeah, well, look, I'm a firm believer that at the end of the day, the best decision maker for a child's education is their parent. And I think we've seen over the last few years a steady effort. It can get a little lost in the media narrative and the hyper politicized world that we live in. But at the basics, I think COVID was the first opportunity that folks really saw the curtain peel back a little bit and realize, hey, it's important, and I have a seat at the table for the content and really the quality of education that we have. And I think we're blessed. I think we have in this state some of the hardest working professionals that go in and day out, pouring into our kids. And so I think we have to continue to raise the salaries for our teachers. Again, this is a recruitment and retention issue. I think teacher certification is something that has become very cumbersome and in some ways is driving willing and qualified individuals away from the classroom. And I think what we just did this last year is we continue to expand educational savings accounts and making sure that school choice is universal, not just for those who can afford it. So again, every parent is in the driver's seat for the quality of their child's education.
Huge. Water quality. Let's talk about water quality. It's important to us.
Yeah.
Martin County, definitely. I mean, we talked a little bit about red tide, the green algae issue that we potentially could have might be coming our way. I think it is coming our way. You're a member of the Water Quality Subcommittee.
Yep.
Right. So what steps are you taking to address our water quality issues that we have here, specifically in Martin and Palm Beach County?
Yeah, great question, Noel. And just before we came here, I was actually meeting with Councilwoman Melise Sandstrom down for the Village of Jupiter.
She's great.
She's great. And one of the things we were actually talking about were how do we continue to bring back dedicated sources of funding for the Loxahatchee River. Again, I'm a Martin County guy. I know that our Indian River Lagoon is top priority statewide. But here in the northern Palm Beach County, the Loxahatchee River is one of the most biodiverse pieces of water in our entire state. And so looking at creative ways that the state can partner with municipalities so we can make our taxpayer dollars really go further. Statewide, and especially for Everglades, not specifically to Everglades restoration, Governor DeSantis, when first elected, pledged to spend $1 billion in this last budget. We, again, had another record year totaling $3 billion. We're putting state dollars into Everglades restoration. This is a complex system, multiple stakeholders at play. But I think for the first time in a long time, we're seeing the momentum is on our side. And look, clean water, it's a lifeblood of our economy, of our community. It's how we recreate, how we do business for those in the marine industry. And it's just who we are as beautiful South Florida. So I think we've got to be good stewards of it. And we're certainly going in the right direction.
So speaking of South Florida, speaking of Florida, period, like I'm very proud of our state. I'm very proud of our region and all the different things that we have going on. I mean, we truly live where everyone else wants to be.
Yep.
What makes Florida, or specifically the Palm Beach North Martin County region, so special?
Well, it's, somebody was just asking me the other day, they said, why do you guys always call it God's country? It's like, well, because it is.
It is, man. It is.
We have, again, just the diversity that we have, just in my district where you could start on, the bank of Lake Okeechobee, drive literally for miles and miles through nothing but old Florida farmland, work your way through, into Jupiter, into North Palm, where we have industry, where we have FPL, where we have, some of these titans of industry and of technology advancement, Scripps, FAU,
Carrier,
the list goes on. And then you're at the beach, and we've got, some of the best golf courses in the world. So you kind of take all that and you say, how did we end up with this all being in our backyard? It is something special, and I think that's why we've got to work so hard to keep it that way.
We live in the best region area. And I know I'm the chamber guy, so I sound biased when I say that, but we really live in the best part of Florida. We're so fortunate.
I'm going to jump in there, Noel. Why it is so helpful for our district is because, and we've already started doing this, in advancement for because of the way term limits, when we are, our class has the speaker's gavel, to be able to tell folks, hey, look at Jupiter, look at Hope Sound. There's a reason why we need the state appropriations dollars. We are growing. We are experiencing unprecedented growth. We do have very unique water quality demands, infrastructure, traffic, all of these things that begin to take shape of what will this place look like 20, 30, 50 years from now when we're gone and it's up to our kids. That's why it's really nice to have a place like this that we can brag about and say, hey, come down here and let us show you what we got going on. So keep it up, man.
Good. So strong family legacy. What do you want John Snyder's legacy to be?
Man, it's something every morning you kind of wake up and you say, all right, what am I doing today to make a difference? And I think, I don't think there'll ever be one specific policy or one bill or one project that I'll ever say, hey, that was the one. I think my legacy, what I hope to leave, is really a body of work where people can look back and say, hey, the guy made a difference and he did the right thing. Because at the end of the day, you've got one name, one reputation. And that's what it says in the book of Proverbs, that a good name is worth more than the finest gold or the rarest silver. So that's what I want my legacy to be, is that I took the Snyder name well, and I can pass it on to my kids and make sure they're proud.
I love it, man. Love it. You give me goosebumps saying that. So one last question. Very, very, very important question. Very serious question. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins.
Man.
We got a shot this year or what?
Well, look,
I'm feeling good, but I always, every year feel good, and then I get crushed.
This is the best time to be a Miami Dolphins fan, because the pads are off. We're looking good. Everything. I'm telling you, man, that when you've got the third string offense looking as dialed in as McDaniel has them right now.
They look good the other night.
Dude.
They look great. We're running the ball all over the place.
I think look, if it doesn't happen this year, then I think we can officially say it's not going to happen in our lifetime. So I'm all in, man. It's Super Bowl or bust.
Well, John, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. Thank you so much for your service. Keep fighting the good fight, man. You're doing some great stuff for us, and we're really proud of you. Keep it going, man, and I just appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you, Noel. Appreciate you, brother. And in closing, really, to all the business owners, those that make the chamber special, this, at the end of the day, is the backbone of our economy. The solutions that we face as a society, it's not going to be found in government. It's not going to be found in politicians. It's found sitting around the coffee table, engaged in dialogue, keeping our economy going. And so appreciate everything that you do, everybody at the chamber for what they do. And if there's anything that our office can ever do, please don't hesitate to contact us. We have an office located in corner of Indian Town and Military Trail at the Jupiter Town office. Yep. You were there for our ribbon cutting. So we're here to serve this community. And again, thanks for having me, Noel.
All right. Awesome, my man. Thank you so much.